Recording. All right. So thank you guys all for making it. It's already last meeting of the year, which feels really crazy. And we were a year ago today, kitty corner from where I am right now, which is at Carl von Linné School. And at Chicago Public Schools that day, we were hearing about just one neighborhood, one community, and how the school is a center point of that community, and the way that the students and the teachers interact with the neighborhood and also grow their own food and had bees on the roof and use waste from their cafeteria to teach and cook in the culinary arts class. And really, everyone came away from that meeting so inspired. I got so many great emails that next day that it just seems so fitting that we have Sandrine here today to talk, kind of from the top level and all the way up, down, and in between about Chicago Public Schools work and sustainability. And really, sustainability is all encompassing because it's all encompassing. So Sandrine, please, if you can just take it away.
So everybody can hear me all right? We're good on this? No background noise? Hopefully not. So I think, thank you. So I think it was a year ago that I met all of you, or maybe it was the month of October. I don't remember. But I had, so I have been at CPS for a year and a half now, and it's been quite an adventure, not only from the program perspective, but certainly from the work stoppage, and then now the COVID-19. So I see that Josh is on the call, and he knows what I mean, because we've been in touch for our waste management and our recycling and, picking up things and so on. But what I wanted to present to you, and Stephanie, just like you said, energy and sustainability is really a fascinating world that we work in, because it encompasses everything. And anyone can be involved in energy and sustainability, no matter what your background is. And I think what I'm going to show you here is really what the CPS portfolio is all about. I think maybe some of you are parents that your kids are going to CPS. And so you probably are familiar with the vision and the mission of the school of CPS. Our Department of Facilities, of course, we're dedicated to keep our facilities safe and warm and comfortable for our kids when they are in school. But energy and sustainability, we reintroduced the program, like I said, a year and a half ago. We're really committed to conserve, protect, and sustain resources to provide, again, a healthy and high-performing environment. And we want, of course, to meet or exceed our energy efficiencies, and also be part of the education for our kids, bring the real world energy and sustainability challenges and solutions, present them to our kids and our teachers and so on, so that not only we encourage them to get into our field that we all are so passionate about, but also have a community engagement with the program. And please, interrupt me anytime you want with questions and so on. As Stephanie said, this is a casual call, that's no problem. So for those of you who are not too familiar with the CPS portfolio, we have about 654 schools, 178 high school, and 476 elementary school. This is important to differentiate, because when it goes to a design guideline, there are a lot of differences between the two types of schools. And I've been learning that, and quite fascinating as well. Our portfolio is quite large. We have about 64 million of square feet. That's really our facilities, but we have a little more if we include our stadiums and other entities that we have not within, considered as a facility. As you know, our campus age, we have very old buildings and relatively very new buildings. So once again, that presents the challenge, on how we operate and maintain our facilities, especially when it comes to an energy efficient and aspect and so on. So, and we also have several campuses throughout the city/district. Our top 10 elements that we are focusing on based on the energy and sustainability program, we got temperature, daylighting, humidity, noise, cleanliness, safety, security, recycling, waste management, water quality, air quality, and ventilation. You probably have heard that especially ventilation and air quality has always been important. We've always met the Chicago, standards, but even more so now due to the COVID-19, we are changing our operations to ensure that our schools have indoor air quality is safe. We're bringing in outside air 2 hours before class starts and 2 hours after class starts, meaning we're keeping that schedule. But we've also acquired a lot of different technology to include the HEPA filters and so on. Again, I'm sure you have seen all that in the news, and also that's been communicated by Dr. Jackson on numerous occasions. Daylighting is also something we look at into our major construction, major renovation on new construction. Cleanliness is also very important. Recycling and waste management, you'll see later on this in the presentation, how 7th Generation is helping us, meet some of our goals, and so is our LRS, who is our vendor providing us with those services. I think I presented that the last year, but ultimately here's the portfolio. We're focusing on energy and water. Even though we don't pay for water, it doesn't matter. Water conservation is very, very important. So we're installing installing some water meters when we can. We already have some meters for our at some of our schools, and getting that information as well. Of course, we have our ComEd partners where we get our utility data, and our People's Gas where we get our natural gas data. We're focusing also our facilities. We also want to put in a lot of technology in our schools, building automation systems, smart meters, using some visuals and so on. Again, I'll present that shortly in the presentation to ensure we provide actionable information to our principals, our teachers, our facility managers, our engineers, and so on. So again, being full transparent of where we are with the data. Waste management and recycling, also very important. And health and wellness is also very critical to include from nutrition and making sure that education on health and wellness and energy efficiency and so on is part of the curriculum at the schools. What are our goals? So last year I didn't really have that, but our goals really is to reduce by 25% from our 2019 baseline by 2025, 25% of our energy use intensity. That we would probably, a potential of $11 million savings to the district. We want to reduce our operating costs by 25%. We want to achieve an average district-wide Energy Star rating of greater than 75. Increase our energy security via reliability, resilience, energy efficiency, and renewable energy goals. As we know, the city of Chicago has a goal of transitioning to 100% clean energy, renewable energy in buildings throughout the community by 2035. However, for the public buildings, it's 2025. So we're aligning to do the same as well. We want to reduce the district water use and improve stormwater management, reduce district waste and increase recycling, composting as well, and all that is part of the big plan. But we also want to educate people, heighten energy awareness and environmental stewardship, not only to our students and teachers, but also for everyone that is maintaining our facilities, having them understand that avoiding wasted energy is money that goes back into our education, into our facilities. I tell people that if we don't invest in our facilities, we don't invest in our students. What do? Again, it was, when I got to CPS, my first question was like, where's the data? Well, we didn't really have any data. The data that we had were just Excel spreadsheets on what they call the account payable of each of the accounts and the payments that we made to ComEd or People's Gas. I said, well, we need to be a little bit smarter on that. So what we did, we leveraged one of the tools that one of our partners, vendors are actually has, Amoresco. It's called Asset Planner. And we started putting all the utility data, natural gas and electricity, but we also added our facility information, the square footage, the age of the facilities, and so on. So we were able to establish benchmarks. So each of our school and each of the buildings on the campus have a benchmark, and we leverage the CVEC standards. So ultimately, we are able to better understand where we are as far as meeting that CVEC benchmark, but also we added a condition index of each of our assets. Not easy to do, but based on the facility assessment that is also required for building in Chicago, we're able to get that visual that a group goes and visits our school and tell us the condition of the assets. And with all that, I'm able to determine the benchmark and so on, what kind of energy conservation measure should we instill in that facility, or if it's just a change in operational or maintenance procedures that we need to educate our engineers on. So that has really been a great lens for us to see better where we are at each of our facilities. And you see here the benchmarks, green, blue, and yellow, you know, and ultimately, and red, but allowing us to understand where to focus first and what to do at that facility, and, you know, hopefully projects being funded, and then we can monitor our energy savings and the ROI. The one partner that we have with ComEd is AGENTIS. They've been a great partner as well on providing us the best opportunities for operational improvements. Again, we provide them with the utility data, the facility data, and they monitor every 3 to 4 months, kind of the trend on how our schools are doing. There's a lot of data. We have about, I would say, 2,400 accounts for just for electricity. So there's a lot of data that they have to do an analysis. But again, not having had anything at first as far as a tool to do this, you know, this has been great for us to understand where we are. And the most important thing too is to fix our data. We were able to do a data assessment accuracy. So for example, to make sure that the square footage was accurate, or, you know, this meter is actually, the benchmark is higher than it should be. And why is that? Well, energy use intensity is higher than it should be. Why is that? Well, because the meter is actually feeding 2 buildings rather than 1 building. So all these little, you know, nuisance that we work through. And why do we do that? Why do we want to get the data? Because ultimately we want to know how much we can reduce as far as consumption, identify the waste energy, and so that we're in better position to achieve our renewable goals. One thing I want to bring up, and I think this is our world today, everyone, since pretty much March of 2019, COVID-19 impacts. And I'm going to say, you know, although it's kind of sad what's going on, we have to look at some of the positive aspect of it as well. The schools, the district has been able to achieve quite some savings for the students, since the students were not in school. You know, so I think right now, and I'm going to get the updated data next week, but we've probably saved in electricity about $5 million since the end of March. That money is being redirected toward COVID-19 initiatives. And at People's Gas, I think we were close to $3 million up to last month. So once again, it's great to see that we are saving consumption reduction, kind of meeting our goals and all. But some of you have probably heard me said, you know, this is kind of a crash diet. You know, you crash diet, you lose your 10 pounds, you feel good, but then you put a piece of chocolate in your mouth and you gain the 10 pounds and more, you know. So I'm telling my accounting folks, the budget folks, and so on, do not plan on this reduction to be sustained. Ultimately, once the students come back, and again, based on the operational, the new operational processes that we're putting in place. But again, it is very important that we monitor where we are at our facilities. So here, you know, we got the 2 graphs. As you can see on the top here, this is one of the schools, I believe. The predictive, you know, was the blue, and the actual consumption is the dark line. Here's another school, I believe that's Wheatley Young. You know, the trends are the same. but we're definitely seeing some saving as well. What I've asked Amoresco to do is reanalyze the predictive based on what we know during COVID-19. And I was very pleased to see that we were still achieving some savings, probably based on the operations and the energy and the engineers' actions on turning off the lights, using the building automation system, putting schedules that we have no one, you know, in schools and so on. So it's been very helpful. We also monitor by facility, but of course, what are the impacts, you know, our cleaning and enhancing plans, which that is now my one of my new jobs on developing the cleaning and enhancing plan for CPS, making sure we disinfect everything. And also establishing care rooms. I don't know if you guys heard, but we have care rooms that if a student is not feeling well, they will be put in there. You know, buying wipes and all this stuff. I mean, it's been amazing and quite a learning experience. We also, and I'm sure that was on the news too, we have done a ventilation and indoor air quality assessment that is led by our Director of Operations, Rob Chrisley, who's done a fantastic job, and also our capital team under Ivan Henson. And let me tell you, we discovered a lot of things on our schools, which that assessment is really helpful. And I've also seen, I don't know about you guys within your people work together. And actually programs like early childhood development, ODLSS and so on, understanding better what facilities department is doing and understanding that the facilities department does a lot, you know, so we maintain our facilities. So that's been quite, that's been enjoyable to get to know a lot of the different programs throughout the organization. So as I said, without our partners, with ComEd, you know, and leveraging ComEd's energy efficiency programs, we're working with many different companies. We are performing, you know, like the first year, we're doing as many as facility assessment as we can. Of course, right now we're making sure that everybody is safe, but ultimately my goal from these facility assessments is to ensure that the findings turn into actual projects. And those projects, I'll touch a little bit on there, you know, not having all the money in the world, we're also looking into a third-party financing. Let it be an ESPC or something else, but that's actually a larger scale energy efficiency program, and the SPC is one of them. One other incentive with People's Gas here is boiler tune-ups and steam trap. And here, I'm sorry, but here on the right, you can see kind of the savings that we've been able to achieve. And boiler tune-ups, a no cost to CPS, and it's starting again. We've, you know, annual cost saving of $840,000 and rebate amount of $850,000, which has been a great program because we have quite a lot of boilers, believe it or not, in throughout the district. One great project, the lighting retrofit, it's called the Public Buildings and Distressed Community Offering. This is really focusing, aligning, I should say, with the mayor's Southwest Invest Southwest. So we're focusing on some of the schools that meet that criteria. And there's about 404 schools in there. And we're going in and retrofitting a lot of the lights. Now, because of COVID-19, we had to be a bit creative. And the company that is helping us with this is 360 Energy. And so the assessment could not be done in person. So what did we do? We turned those assessments into virtual assessments. And the engineer, you know, takes their phone and we count the lights and so on. And we're actually able to get, you know, the information, or the engineer is able to get the information. And then our engineer at the school receives a customer form and just checks which project they want to do. So if they want to retrofit all the lighting throughout the school, they check them, and then ComEd /360 Energy Group sends all the kits, and goes to work, and our engineer goes to work and replace all the lights. We've done so far, this is a little bit old, so I think we've probably done more than 215 schools so far. But what I want to see is that material and labor savings. So the material that we did not, the kits that were kind of free, are free. And then labor savings because of the type of lights we're putting in there. We're going to be probably saving $5 million just for that. Energy savings for the 10 years will probably be $10 million as well. Building technology, this is also the building automation system is very dear to my heart. I love those because they really give you a perspective on how healthy your building is. And so we, again, partner with Power Technology, Power Takeoff, I'm sorry. And what that group does, they go into, they analyze our meter data, and they also go into our building automation systems. And they kind of take a look at to make sure our engineers are using that technology the right way. And that's been very helpful because the engineer gets on the call, and then Melinda, who is the star for this program, takes the engineer step by step on how to do scheduling, on what their hand handlers is going on, or what's been going on at their school during the weekend. Why is the equipment running all weekend? Are there any events happening, and so on? So we've been able to achieve quite a bit in 2020, about $500,000. I think that number is actually up, based again on what we're identifying as far as savings, as I showed you previously, monitoring each of the facilities during this COVID-19 era. Renewable, very exciting. As of 2 weeks ago, we're gonna have, we're calling it CPS Go Solar. And this is an initiative that I am working with 7th Generation, but we know that climate change is real, all right? And our students know that. I have so many students that are contacting me saying, I care about the environment, I care about the climate, I wanna do something, I wanna help, I want our clubs to help, and so on. Many schools came forward saying, I want a solar panel, I want solar panels, and so on. So I'm excited that a lot of people are wanting to do this. Globally, as we saw the studies, we need to reduce the greenhouse gas by 7.6% between now and 2030. Our future generation deserve it. So this is why we need to do this. Even CPS is a small footprint compared to the global. We got to do our part. And so CPS Go Solar, we will address operation and education need to equip the schools and the young people to mitigate climate change and, pretty much lead the 21st century renewable economy here. Because it will create jobs as well. That's very important. And our students will get some interest in, again, going into our field that we are so passionate about. So the project summary for CPS Go Solar, we're gonna develop a team of nonprofit and for-profit advisors. If you're interested in being part of it, let me know. We also wanna engage with our sister agencies and also CPS staff and students. And when I say staff, it's not necessarily just principals and teachers. It's also our law people, procurement people, budget people, engineer people, capital people. I want people to understand that, building a large-scale solar project needs collaborative effort. We need to all be in this together. Leveraging probably a PPA, but that's something, again, that this team would discuss. We wouldn't have only large scale, we would also have the one panel that the principal wants their teacher to have for educational purposes. So that's actually a continuing program that CPS has been very engaged in. We are supporting renewable energy procurement, option and decision-making to round out district renewable energy goal targets. This is what the team would be doing. Develop a community solar model that enables schools to purchase energy from solar arrays of other schools. I would like also a vision to see that a school becomes kind of a pilot and a site visit for students, to take a look at this large solar projects and so on, just again, to get that momentum going. Of course, we would continue to develop, implement a resource guide for the teachers and train our CPS teachers as well. So again, our goals is to achieve our renewable energy portfolio goal target 100% by 2025. It may not be all solar panels. It probably will not. It will be through different venues, but the goal is to be what I call a true green. We want, that renewable, that solar panel, those storages and so on to be installed at our schools. We would, of course, reduce the greenhouse gas, which is also another goal of ours. Let me see. And again, taking a look at reduced CPS energy spend in order to recoup the money towards our education. Waste management, recycling. This is really exciting. And thanks to Susan and Becky that I hear on the call here. And also our vendor LRS, who have been helping us tremendously on the recycling and so on. But what Becky and Susan have done, and they got a grant for CPS. Once again, it's not because COVID is here that we got to stop our effort, that we got to stop educating, our students, our teachers on energy efficiency, renewable, recycling, waste management, and so on. That hasn't stopped. So what Becky and Susan and Becky have done, they put in for a grant, and we were able to get funding to purchase recycling bins for our classrooms. And what they have done, they've done a great job on developing a CPS recycling guidance that we would share with everyone, and giving me all these different, great posters and so on that we will be posting in the classrooms. Now, you're going to tell me, well, Sandrine, there are no students in the classroom. So, why now? Well, we still do have students in our classroom. I'm sure you've heard that we have children learning hubs. So you still have those hubs, those classes occupied by students that need to have a place to stay during the day. What happens in those classrooms, it is not a teacher here, it's more of a supervisor. But the student brings their own computer, they've got their headphones, and they link into their remote learning. So the students are from all different grades, and they reach out to their teachers through their computer, but they're in the same classroom, but they're still eating in the classroom. Meals are being served in the classroom, which means there's waste, which means we want to make sure they know that they can recycle, or recycling some of the items and so on. So the next step for us is to have, I believe the recycling bins are already at our warehouse. We're going to be delivering them at the schools, and ultimately maybe have a video or something for those students to take a look at the end of their classes during the day. And learn about recycling and the waste management and recycling procedures. This hopefully will be a pilot that we're going to continue to expand throughout the district. There are schools that are really doing very well at this program. Others may need additional education that we will help with. We have champions at some of the schools. The champions also are students. And this is where I was saying, the green team from Jones College Prep, students reaching out saying, hey, Sandrine, I am really concerned about food waste. And I'm like, absolutely. So Elisa Price, who leads the club, has been participating in our calls with 7th Generation and provided us kind of the vision that those young minds have. What do they want to do? What do they want to accomplish? How do they see helping the environment and so on? So it's very important for us to continue to engage, even though it's through Zoom, which is their picture from their last week's meeting, continue to, again, be there to support them or their effort, because they're really the future. And I mean, you guys probably know this, but I am so impressed with some of those ideas that those kids have. The composting, the recycling, the food waste ideas, and so on. It's just amazing. So we need to be there to continue to encourage them. Other partnership with other students, which was great, People's Gas and North Shore Gas Energy Efficiency Program and the Illinois Tech chapter of Citizen Climate Lobby. I think it was about last year at this time, or maybe it was in December. We had college students going to a school and meeting with the engineer here. And we had two groups. We had the gas group and we had the electric group. And those college students, there were about 15 or 20 of them, came from all different backgrounds. They were ITT and I think the University of Chicago. But they were mechanical engineers, architects, civil and chemical engineers. I think there was even one that was in psychology. I don't know. But they all are so interested in protecting the environment and the climate and climate change and so on. And they wanted to better understand how to perform an audit. And what they've done, they walked through the school, performed an audit on, and look at the windows. They went into the kitchen. They looked at the boiler rooms. They looked at the building automation system, the building envelope. They reviewed our utility data and so on. Well, let me tell you, they came up with a presentation that was just fantastic. And they were able to give us an annual financial savings based on some of the initiatives they recommended, and then translated those savings to CO2 saved, or how many miles drivers by passenger vehicle, or trees planted, and so on. It was just amazing to see that group of people presenting this audit and having them to say, we need to do this. We need to do this everywhere, again, because of this climate crisis that we're in. So there you get pictures of the actual team there. And the last here, that was their final presentation. They were so professional, more professional than some of the adults I have worked and through my career with. It was just amazing. But they received a certificate and different things from People's Gas and all that. And I think it was a very good learning experience for both sides. So we are planning on continuing this. Of course, COVID-19, the expectation, we'll see when. But ultimately, that is an excellent program if you can do this in some of your agencies or organizations. Our success stories, again, engaging our staff, teaching our staff, leveraging our energy efficiency programs for People's Gas and so on. Lane Tech is a case study that they have saved a lot of money on here and have been repairing, their steam traps and boiler tune-ups and so on. It's been great. All of this is online, and Stephanie, I'll make sure that I have the links to this attached, and people can go and read, all the success stories and all that. We also have here an example of our lighting retrofit. Here, you get, somebody working on it. As I said, we're also looking into different financial mechanism, the energy service performance contract, a contingency payment agreement, maybe savings as a service, and so on. So again, to ensure that we are, we're working in more than one school by school, in order to increase our efficiency and reduce wasted energy. And I think that was it. I didn't want to take too much of all your time, but that's kind of a nutshell. And there's a lot more going on at CPS, but that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing.
So awesome. I mean, like the crowd would be going wild if we were all together.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I noted some questions in the chat. I'll just address those first and then open it up.
Yes, please.
So there's a question on your overall energy savings as a percentage.
Yes.
Something
Is that the 25%? Energy saving, is that the one? So we finally got a good baseline of energy use intensity. I think it's 84. I think it is. I think that's what it is. But ultimately, once again, And I don't know, is that the question, or what I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's okay. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and ask Cindy, who asked the question, to clarify, to make sure that we're addressing what you asked.
Yeah, thank you. Such a great presentation. I was wondering during COVID, I saw you had a bunch of different percentages for each school, and then you also gave the total dollar amount. Do you know what the percentage overall is?
Oh.
Right. So for that, well, you know, that's a very good question, because here, like I said, you know, saving the district a potential of $11 million. That's taking into consideration a lot of different variables, based on what we have achieved since the end or mid-March until when I'm going to start seeing a augmentation in our consumption at our facilities. But the 25% from our 2019, this is without the COVID-19. This was before we determined how much savings could we achieve based on, again, looking at the energy use intensity and also the condition of the building. So we were able to get, you know, okay, so if we do these type of energy, if we install these type of energy conservation measures, and sometimes it's just a change in operation, we can actually achieve this at this school based on the square footage and the occupancy and so on. And then from there, we kind of gave it a plan on, all right, so by 2025, how much can we really reduce? So that's about 25%, 2025, about a 2% or so, 3% per year of consumption reduction that we can achieve.
Okay, yeah, that's a great potential. Yeah, what I was really trying to get at was what you have seen just now, because I'm trying to make the argument to my organization that we should be doing better. And I was just wondering if there was anything to...
I'm sorry, that you should be... So the argument to your organization that you need to continue your energy efficiency program?
No, to save right now while the buildings are minimally occupied.
Oh, absolutely. And this, I don't know if I've got my presentation here on there, but let me see. Let me go back to, which slide is that? Sorry about that. So there is definitely, if you don't mind, I am going to take a look at I want to pull some data here. To show you, and I can share that with you as well. You know, seeing the actual savings, not only because of the non-occupancy in your school, but also because some of the operational changes that our engineers have been doing has helped the consumption reduction. But did you have something in mind, maybe something more specific that I can, you know, take an actual example?
Well, you had said you're saving right now, you're saving $8 million, or you saved that much since COVID. So I guess I'm just really looking at the translation of that, or what percentage of your costs. You know,
okay. All right. Okay, so
if it's hard to pull up, you could just let us know later.
Right. No, I think that's what I'll do, because right now I'm about to freeze. My computer's about to freeze, not me, but so it involves a lot of different things that's happened in the past year. And one of the key thing was partnering again with ComEd and People's Gas. So if you can do this, do it, you know, because they will go and do an assessment of your facilities and identify those savings. The lighting retrofit is again an analysis of the potential savings that we're going to achieve based on that retrofit. This slide that you're seeing here is actual consumption reduction that we have identified at our largest consumers throughout the district. Again, a lot of different variables, you know, from having no students there, but also turning off, you know, making sure that the temperature is not at 62 when it's a hot day, because you want to keep people cool, but there's nobody there. Let me see. So here, you know, you've got the different initiative as well. The savings include also a no cost to CPS for the project because it's covered by the incentive, and also an annual cost saving based on the type of project that we are putting there. So we're calculating that return on investment.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I know, Cindy, if you wanted to also ask your second question, which was actually your first question noted, it was about water conservation.
Mm.
Yeah, and that you're still doing that even though you don't get to kind of reap the savings. So I was wondering what the motivation was for that. And oh, and also about the metering itself. Is the city installing the meters, or is that something you have to do?
That's something I have to do, unfortunately. So we're working with Global Water. Global Water has been a partner at CPS for quite a few years. And what they've been doing is installing sub-metering into our mechanical rooms and monitoring the water and so on there, so that we kind of have a operational data when it comes to water usage. The next step at some of the schools, new schools specifically, we have a water meter that measures the whole school. This is not a smart meter, unfortunately, so we rely on the engineer to go and do a manual read of that meter. Water conservation, I think, is very important for, you know, or monitoring water data at our facility. First of all, if you see that there is an increase in consumption or a huge increase in consumption, there may be an issue. There may be a leak somewhere that if we don't catch right away could damage the facility. And that's happened in several places. So, you know, that's something that we want to be aware of. I think instilling water conservation, making sure that we don't have all the touchless faucets and so on. You know, make sure you make sure the faucets are turned off when you're done using them. The kitchen as well. You know, we want to make sure that the kitchen staff understands that water conservation is important. And we've got large gardens in some places. We have, for instance, waters. I'm sure Pete Licky will not be happy hearing me to say this, but the gardens need a lot of water. Well, we kind of want to know how much water we're using, you know, at those places. And again, I mean, I think water conservation, even though we have a lake that you probably see in the back here, you know, that has a lot of water, we still need to have an energy conservation plan for water.
So Sandrine, you did say, you know, you brought up maintenance costs being, you know, basically avoided by monitoring. Are there any other necessary sort of fiscal items to pinpoint? Because I think Cindy's getting at, you know, when you're a public entity and are not paying for water, how do you get anyone to want to invest when you won't reap cost benefit?
Well, in some way, there would be some cost benefit. The cost would be if we have the data and we're looking at, you know, the trend, and we're seeing that there's an issue on water increasing the use that for no reason. We know there's an issue here, and we could avoid a catastrophe of like we had, you know, a flood. That is the one thing that I like to see the meter data giving us as far as that. Now, the return on investment, it's not always a financial return on investment. It's the right thing to do. I mean, it's, you know, people do pay for water in Chicago. I think they do, right? I don't think it's everybody that's had this great agreement that, hey, we're not paying for water. What if one day this is turned around? You know, we don't really know the specific. Like, well, you know what, CPS, you're going to start paying for water. I'd like to have kind of a baseline of where we are. And then I'm working with Water Reclamation Bureau, although they're not very transparent. I'm like, give us an idea of how much water we are actually, you know, consuming. So we know that. We had we had a church where there is a school next to a CPS school next to the church. They sent us their water bill because they went up 85% in 1 month. That was the month of December. So they thought that was exactly their thought, saying, hey, guys, I mean, what's going on here? Is the school consuming too much water, or is there something more that we need to investigate? And I think what they found out is that there was a leak under the parking lot that we needed to be addressed. So, you know, I understand the return on investment. We like to see the money coming in, but there's also a part of our program or our role is it's the right thing to do.
I agree completely. And we do have water metering on campus from the city, but it's not useful. It takes a while to actually see what's really happening.
What's really happening, right? Yeah. Exactly. That's this monitoring thing. There's another initiative that we're doing where we're going to be installing in 56 of our schools real-time monitoring procedures, so that we can monitor that consumption at the schools.
And so do you get billed for the stormwater? Because that's usually based on the water consumption. Okay.
No, we're not either. Yeah. And my past experience at DOD, at Department of the Navy, yes, we did, you know, 1-to-1 and so on. Yeah. And that was, again, it's based on that experience. I'm like, yes, you're right. We could have, you know, we're not necessarily going to get some money back per se, but identifying some potential issues is actually something that could, if we don't, could cost the district a lot more money than if we didn't.
And just to underscore your point, you know, you don't pay for it until you do. And Meredith mentioned that waste at the schools used to be free.
Exactly.
Or the city provided it until it wasn't anymore. So it's such a great point. And then John Brophy asked if the water monitoring is ultrasonic or does it cut the pipe? I think at those 56 schools, maybe that's what you're referring to.
No, if it's water monitoring, I think that's the one with Global Water, John. Is that the one? Is that the one he's referring to?
I'm referring to the meter.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I was asking about. Thank you.
I think there's both. There's both, John. So I just got a presentation from them today. I can share with you with what they've been doing, and they've actually worked on the dashboard for us. But yeah, I can share that with you, and you know, we can discuss that. But it's a little bit of again, keep in mind that our facilities are from 100 years old to recent. So the technology that we're using differs depending on what type of system we have. We have pneumatics DDC controls that date from 15 years ago or even more, and we've got brand new building automation system that we just installed in our new facilities. I'll tell you, sometimes the pneumatics work better than the new ones. So it's pretty funny. But in any event, that's another discussion.
Clearly, it's there's lots of chat around this water information, and so I think it's all so on point, and it just like we said, the sustainability is so much more than energy or any other one thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you were asked for an IntelliPure or Delos contact name. So maybe you can provide that in the chat or.
Does John ask that? Did John ask that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, John. I remember getting your email, and like most of us, like all of us on this call, we do our day. You start the day saying, "Oh, I'm going to do energy and sustainability," and then this COVID-19 comes, and like poof, your day's just gone. So I will give you that spec sheet that we have. So and also the different types of HEPA filters that we have used, and again, really like these filters are going to be in the classroom, even if there's an issue or not with the air exchanger and so on. We just want to make sure that those classrooms are safe. And but yeah, I'll share that with you as well and get you the point of contact.
Cool. So did I hear right that you're getting 20,000 of them, and they're going to be in like every classroom in the entire district?
No, we're getting 30,000 of them. 30,000 of them. We have distributed them to the main offices because, as you know, our awesome staff are still in school. We have our principals and we have the clerks. So we have, tomorrow we are finishing our delivery of 2 per of those main offices. Then we have them in the care rooms, and then we're gonna have them all in our classrooms, yes. And then I think we're gonna, understand better, like in the cafeterias and so on, if we need to provide them as well. Again, depending on how big your classroom is, or your HVAC system, and that's how we determine the type that we're going to be delivering at the schools. But yes, 30,000 of them.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Meredith, are you doing the same thing?
Not really. The water in New York is in a similar fate as it is in Chicago. We also don't pay for water. It's required to. We have to report on usage across every building, but that's been really challenging. We're kind of in the midst of, the city here actually does the meter installations, but unfortunately it's one of those things that gets axed first when there are budget cuts. So there haven't been any meter installations in a while. So we're kind of like, we only have a couple hundred buildings that have water meters at all.
Yeah, and I'm specifically the IntelliPure, the Delos ones. I thought, okay.
No, the city is. We haven't been doing them yet, but we're talking about it now. We're not quite there yet.
So I think, and Meredith, it's a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you too.
I just like, I should have known that you were. I would have put more. I don't know. I've got big shoes to fill. After Meredith, and but John, one of the, I don't know if the IntelliPure are the ones that the City of New York district is using, but I know that we're purchasing about 25,000 of them, and we refer them as the New York HEPA filters. So let me give you make sure that I'm not confusing all of our filtering here.
Thanks.
Yay. Okay. We'll just, everyone can speak up if they have something else they want to ask, or I'm going to go back to the questions that were previously asked, but I've got them written down. So again, feel free to speak up. But the next thing I was going to address was the schools that have the new recycling bins, the hub, learning hubs. Mm-hmm. Sandrine, is there composting at those schools?
So, and Suzanne, please, keep me honest here, but I think we have 14 schools that we have composting. I don't think one of those hubs are a school that does composting. However, as you probably know, we just had our RFP that went out a couple months ago to renew or to have our waste management and recycling contract that ends at the end of the year, but we're continuing, of course, and that was a big section for me to ensure we continued our recycling and our composting and working with our partners, seventh generation and so on, to expand the composting program across the district. So that's whoever the incumbent is going, the person that, or the vendor that's going to come in and work with CPS will, probably already knows that since they reviewed the RFP, but it's going to be a big part of our initiatives.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the schools, the 9 schools that are designated learning hubs, that's right, none of them are the the commercial composting schools. So those are 14 different schools. Right. And yeah, looking forward to the time when we can expand on that. Right,
right. I know it's been a long time coming, Susan, but Suzanne and Becky have been very patient with me, and and we're getting there. We're getting there.
Cool, cool. So The next question is regarding the engaged volunteer students. So you talked about the green teams and Lisa Price's vision. I wondered if you could put any numbers against how many students there are. Either, you know, the program might be growing as we speak, but.
So that is a very good question for, I mean, the one thing that Susan has been, I mean, I'm sorry, that at least Elisa told us is that since COVID-19, that club has grown more and more, and their ideas have expanded beyond, you know, environmental. So they want to work with Susan and Becky on the food waste. They want to do the recycling. They are actually reviewing our recycling guidance and giving us ideas on what, you know, what is going to trigger for that student to use the right recycling bin at our schools. What type of recycling bins do we want? You know, right now we have those blue recycling bins, and we're going to have the signs. So we want to expand. We want to reach out to more of these clubs. I'm learning more and more. Again, that is another thing that COVID-19 has helped me. It's really, you know, all of our programs, instead of working in silos, we're really converging, and I got closer and closer to our communication team. And I asked the question, I said, hey guys, you know, we're going solar, CPS goes solar. But what I'd like to do is have the students, the schools engaged, be a part of it. And I want them to create a logo for it. How do we go about that? How do we educate about solar to all these schools, or to the schools, or to the groups? And I think I'm going to be meeting with one person that's going to guide me to these groups. So I'll get to know a little bit more on how many of those groups are across the district. But I want also those students, you know, to come up with these ideas with the logo. They told me that was the first time that CPS would ever do that. I'm like, well, there's always a first time, so let's do it. And but the green team, as they said, it's been growing since COVID-19. So I was pretty happy to see that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, it's when, oh, by the way, I don't know if you want to share your screen anymore. You definitely still can, but I just noticed that it's still shared. I could care less. I think it's always creative. I don't mean I could care less about the presentation. You know what I mean. I think it's cool when programs are branded, you know, like if the green team and it's a CPS design and students feel connected to it, and then everyone can refer to it, because the green team, you know, what does that mean, right? But whatever, I just love that you're taking that step. And I see Sarah here. Sarah, I feel like on a Cook County call, we've talked about that before too, or I don't know if you were on that call, but just it's like, how can we create the brand that gets people excited about it? So awesome. On Sandrine, last question related to the students. You mentioned the college student groups who made recommendations.
Yes.
How do we ensure findings turn into actionable projects? Is there going to be something, next steps with those?
Yes. So it already started. The window Phillips has already gone through a huge LED retrofit. So that was one of the things that the students had identified, and actually that same group was part of this study, and a lot of things with the building automation system as well, and also a lot of things with the boiler room. So yeah, some of these initiatives have already taken place. I'm actually happy to say that my steam traps projects have been funded last week, so I was really excited. I know, you know, just the little things to get you excited, but to come back to Cindy's point, you know, it was convincing funding these projects for a return on investment, not only increasing the efficiency, saving in operations, but also reducing the cost. You know, we're not going to be wasting more energy, so our utility bills will go down. And that is also my role, to educate the other part, the bean counters, on what is happening. Yes. So yeah, and I'm preparing kind of a little report to send to those students, I mean, to the point of contact, to make sure that they know their findings are being implemented.
Well, and you are someone who I knew it. It wasn't a question to put you on the spot. I knew, I just felt that was going to be your answer.
Oh,
So,
I don't want to waste anybody's time, you know, and I have seen many of these things, these facility assessment or data assessment or data, you know, we pay a lot of money to get data collected in the field and so on, and then it's just on the shelf. No, sorry, I can't do this. You know, we've got to make, we have to take action. So yeah, so we're doing that.
Awesome. And so regarding, so let's see, CPS solar, because I see it that Meredith just mentioned, are you starting with demo projects, or are any large scale installations planned?
So, and actually Meredith is going to help me, because I know New York City has done a PPA, I believe, right, Meredith? You did a PPA. So that will be it. So it will be a little bit of both. That group, the reason why, you know, I'm putting this team together is to get all the different perspectives. So we're going to have the Illinois Clean, oh God, I'm so sorry, Foundation, you know, involved on identifying the small scales. But we're also going to have like the Amoresco and the Noresco and, you know, the larger companies help us with the PPA RFP and identifying where we can have large scales solar panels. So Dorr Elementary School is one, Whitney Young is one. There are other schools that have come forward as well, but we're going to take a look at the entire district and see where we are. We also have to do a roof assessment, and mainly once again, I don't want to just put a solar panel on a roof and then forget about it. We have to think the operation and maintenance, and then the long term of maintaining that equipment. You know, that takes, I keep telling people, it's just like, you know, putting a technology on a facility, that it be a meter or a building automation system or a solar panel, it's not what is going to get, it's not going to save you energy magically. You have to maintain it. You have to review the data. You have to do the analysis and follow through on your findings. So, you know, so that's why that we've expanded that group to all these entities to help us to do that.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Meredith, any other thoughts or questions or things to share related to either the water or the solar, just since you're here?
No, just solar is we found it to be it's a great, it touches all the points that you're mentioning, Sandrine, and we've got like 50 installations currently. We've got like 220 in design or construction right now. So we've got a lot of buildings, but it's hard. Roof warranties, training people, especially when staff is moving around.
Right.
It's tricky, but that's why PPA is great, because the financial incentive is on the owner. And, you know, if something goes down, they fix it. We have to get them in, but they have to fix it, and they lose money if they don't. So
exactly,
that kind of arrangement usually helps a city agency out, because
it does.
It's tough to mobilize the resources otherwise. So
right.
Yeah.
It does. Great.
Sure.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you. Great stuff.
And it's the sustainability of things, you know, again, that we want to make sure that whatever we put in there, it just sustains itself. Yeah.
So we're going to move away from solar to plastic, and Carter had a question, which I'm happy to.
I have to deal with two O'Briens, Tina every day, and now Carter. Come on. Just kidding.
I love it. Carter, do you want to mention? Your note? That's hilarious.
It was great. Hi, Sandrine. I just had a kind of a quick question. So I saw the Jones Green Team, and it occurred to me actually probably a whole bunch of us on this call are part of a kind of in development plastic coalition, because, you know, we find that topic is kind of super engaging and getting a lot of attention right now. And we've been told that, you know, we can kind of invite anyone who's interested. So if there were, you know, like students that were really excited about, you know, doing stuff about plastic, and who isn't, you know, then, you know, we would love to just be able to extend the invite for sure. And I'll posted the link. Susan, who is way too modest, is going to be on with me. I don't know. We got just enough time after this call, I think, Susan, to grab a glass of water. But we'll be doing a webinar starting, I think, at 5:30. And everybody
time for a quick bathroom break, right?
There you go. And everyone is very welcome.
Let me see. No, I encourage that, and I wanted the green team to join us this afternoon, but mea culpa, I was too late on sending the invitation. But I'm going to encourage them maybe to attend our next meeting. Carter, I think that's a great idea because they are very interested in what I'll do. And well, Susan, I think I shared with you their slides. Slides that have the ideas, that kind of give us their vision and so on and what they think. I think they can benefit from us even helping them further. That's a great thing, Carter. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something I'm working on from the CPS.edu website. Is to have a communication where everybody can access this type of information. Who do I contact for the Plastic Coalition? Well, Carter, I would put your name there and your point of contact. It's not only it's a one-way CPS outside, but it's also outside coming inside. And there's so much out there that I want all this knowledge to get onto the website.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, what's so fun about this? I mean, I think about the early days of, so this is like, 2009, 2010 conversations, 2012, and Meredith getting Josh providing Lakeshore data that Meredith got up on the CPS site. Like, you guys were all still around. I mean, Meredith's a little bit further away, but, and coming on because she's so awesome, but it's so great. And Sandrine, the way you've taken the ball, I mean, we needed you years before you arrived, but once you came, it was like everything we've been waiting for. And I didn't always have a kid, and she's not yet in school, but like this, our meeting at the Field Museum, all of a sudden, everyone in the classroom were not sustainability directors at their job. They were parents. Right. And it turned into this, and that's the reality of this. And that's why and it's community, and this, that's why the solar piece is so cool and interesting, and 7 generations ahead. Thank you so much, because they're really getting that story out and pushing community solar out there. Right. There's, I think it's Green Mountains too that's going to be involved. I mean, again, please let me know if you want to be part of this. We definitely welcome that. And Carter, I wanted to tell you, I've also shared with the students the movie on the Plastic Coalition. I think that just came out. Fantastic. I think Susan, you shared it with me. Gary, you shared it with me. Somebody else shared it with me, and so on.
Microplastic Madness, the Cafeteria.
Yes.
Those are my pals here in New York City. They're the best.
Love it. I thought that was awesome. That is awesome. So those are the type of things, again, that I want to, make it available across the district for students to learn about.
Yeah, and I just like it. There's just so many wonderful things going on in CPS that, why we just don't get the attention. And I think it's really cool to see that the CPS website has gotten revamped, and it'll be great to have all of those resources, those environmental resources on there when the time comes. But hopefully it will reflect all of those wonderful things that the students are getting to do and interested in.
Absolutely. We're and as you know, Susan and Becky, because you were part of some of the interviews, but I'm hoping to have our CPS Energy and Sustainability Management Plan released, hopefully by mid-December, end of December, probably January, just because everything is a bit slower with everything else. But that is conveying not only past great initiative, Meredith, I know that John was in touch with you, but how CPS is continuing this. And Lakeshore is going to have their data in it. Susan and Becky, you're going to have what you're doing for CPS. We'll also have open lands and all these different things. We're going to have also resource efficiency, the renewable, and so on. But let people know what we're doing and see how they can help. Yeah. Yeah, because everyone.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think it's connected though. So you had mentioned with the community solar. I don't think I've ever heard it described in that context of you were saying like the schools would basically be able to kind of, take advantage, of the solar they were producing at peak rates, I imagine, or something like that.
Right. This is something that Gary actually and I talked about, and I thought that was a great idea. Is like, okay, let's start, again, within our own community and see how it is. But there's also another initiative that we're working on is with the Bronzeville Smart Grid initiative. And we're going to be, one of our schools is going to be on the demand response program, but we're also going to see how we connect in the event of an unplanned outage and, how we can have reliable energy in our school. Resilience for me is another term that I use a lot. Resiliency, making sure that we continue the mission in the event of an outage. We don't always have backup generators at our schools, and backup generators usually doesn't cover the entire school. So, that's kind of the thing, is like self-reliance. Let's see how we can connect within the buildings to do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you just made me think of something, Sandrine. You mentioned the number of schools that were eligible for support through like the south and west side. 600. No. Where's the number?
404. There were
404.
Yes.
And what that really tells me is that there is need and opportunity in distressed communities.
Yes.
And well, gosh, wouldn't now be a good time to really focus on those communities? And so it makes me think about something that we've been discussing on some of these COVID rapid response calls around cold storage needs specifically.
Yes.
But identifying where there might be unused assets, especially in locations where there is high need for food rescue and food distribution. So I wonder, and this could be, a longer conversation offline, but I wonder what schools in the neighborhoods that need it might have the ability to access and use any cold storage. It's just a thought for us to maybe discuss at a later date.
I think that's a great topic. Absolutely.
All right. And so I think we've wrapped up the questions that I noted, and we have a couple other things to talk about this year that's going to be with everybody. Hopefully Sandrine's able to stay on, and others who've joined us, during the last hour. Is there any other questions though for Sandrine regarding what, CPS and everything else?
Now, I think my homework is I have a few things that I owe John and Carter. I'll send you Elisa's information, and no, please let me know, and suggestions. I'll take all the help I can get, because it's still a team of one with a lot of people that are amazing and doing all this, with for us at CPS. So I truly appreciate everybody's involvement and passion, and it's really shown. So it's been great.
A team of one. It's amazing.
Just that, well, yeah.
But no, of course, with everyone. But it's still absolutely insane. We're in the third largest city in the state.
I know, right?
Okay, so
thank you, everyone. I wanted to thank you very much. Unfortunately, I need to go to a meeting to talk about solid waste and for CPS. So I will see everybody. Please stay safe. All right, and truly appreciate your time. Thank you, Stephanie. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Sandrine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandrine.
Bye, everyone. Like a big family there, right? Everyone.
Bye. All right. Awesome. Okay, good. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Bye, guys. Really good to see you all. Just want to say that before I go.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Meredith. Great seeing you.
Bye, Meredith.
I mean, there's something to be said. isn't there about not only Meredith and Chicago Public Schools, but Chicago Sustainability Task Force, that Meredith 3 years, 5 years out of her position was here for that entire presentation and discussion. So thanks, everyone. So, you know, we said that we were going to spend some time on this call, partly inspired by kind of Cindy and Carter, and as the audience sort of filtered down last 2 months ago, the conversation got a little more just open and honest about the shit that's been, the crap that's been handed to us this year, and, you know, the manna that's been made. And so the thought was to really spend a little time hearing from everyone the worst thing that you've dealt with, and maybe what you've been able to do, some of the best things that have come out of the challenges you've had. And this is a time to show off, but it's also, you know, a time to learn from these while they're fresh in our minds, because we're just struggling to make it through this year, it kind of seems. And anything we can do to stop in time and write it down, I think might help us to remember the next time it happens, or build a more resilient system, like we all know is our goal. So I just want to open the floor to, you know, with that thought in mind.
Actually, I was thinking, Stephanie, maybe you could tell them a little bit about your work with the biodegradable plastics, because that was one of the most amazing meetings I've participated in a while. That was absolutely astonishing. So maybe you could just give us like a couple of quick rundown of what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, for many of you, you already know that it was Field Museum, and we were going to have a tour of the organics facility, and Josh and Sandrine, maybe, and I were all going to help do a lunch and learn at the Field Museum talking about composting, inspired largely by this group. And, you know, the virtual discussion turned into some learnings around the fact that compostable plastics aren't really being processed at our local facilities. And that's just a reality. And Josh, you know, would be the first one to acknowledge these realities, because the goal is transparency and partnerships. And so it really was out of these very open, partner-based, solution-based conversations that we've been able to kind of move forward in discussion. And so we went from having a conversation kind of mostly generators to bringing in the makers of the compostable plastics, and some really examples from facilities outside of Chicago who've been able to successfully process the material. And through the discussions about our forum that we had in August, there's been a project that's been scoped to conduct a regional demonstration project that would take place over 18 months starting next year, where we've got 3 facilities who've already said, yes, we would take material to test the compostable plastics disintegration, the compostability, and then provide a report on that. And then what we're looking to do, Chicago Public Schools and Field Museum have also offered, and, you know, others in different ways, but have offered loads or educational space. And what we imagine is not just conducting the type of trial that exists. CMA, the Compost Manufacturing Alliance, provides studies around the breakdown of material in the pile, so to speak. And BPI, the Biodegradable Packaging Institute, provides scientific study at a lab. But what we want to do is actually do that on sites and expand it statewide, get more partners, and getting more partners to do the testing is a step towards getting more compost facilities to accept food scraps and accept compostable plastics or compostable packaging. You know, why would Chicago Public Schools go through the expense of purchasing compostables? Why would 7 generations ahead go through the purpose of teaching students how to sort them? And a lot of other people on these calls, you know, why would we take on this if it's all going to just go in the landfill. And if it doesn't really break down in the facilities, what can the folks that make the resin, who they're also involved in these discussions, what could they do to maybe change their design? So we've got all those stakeholders, from the resin makers to the facilities generators, the packaging, who will provide product to do it. But in order to make this project happen, we need funding. And in 2 weeks from today, we're presenting to the US Plastics Pact, asking for money. We've also talked to the Closed Loop Partners. We've talked to a bunch of organizations who've reached out, and everyone wants to see this happen in Chicago. And, you know, what's really cool is that Chicago also wants to, you know, get something done. And so at the city level, we've had conversations where, you know, public health and Streets and Sand and others, you know, who are working kind of around these issues are starting to talk about these with us. And I mean, everyone at the city has a lot going on. And I know I don't know Angela Tovar, but our new Chief Sustainability Officer obviously has a lot to deal with herself, you know, but I think we're really putting together some building blocks that are going to help the city do things. And then, you know, Illinois EPA has a lot of goals that align with this. So here's hoping. I'm excited about it, obviously. I just blathered for 5 minutes, but yeah, that's the update. So
Awesome. Thank you. It's amazing.
that's my lemonade. What you got?
It's Naomi from Blacks and Green. Can I say a word?
Please, Naomi.
Hey, everybody. I see some old friends here on the site and hopefully making some new friends here as well. Years ago, well, first of all, I am just enraged every day with the one-use plastic that is floating around the street, overrunning in the bins. I know for a fact that recycled materials are not being processed according to protocol in Chicago. Even, I mean, if you can even get people to sort their waste. We're at Blacks and Green. It has headquarters here at the Green Living Room in Woodlawn over on 64th and Cottage, and we have 3,000 square feet of space here, and we sort our waste every day, and we compost, and we recycle, and we teach about what we're sending to the landfill. And it's just heartbreaking how much stuff we're sending to the landfill. But when we do recycle, and then the city contractors just take everything and just throw it in the same hauling systems and combine what we've already sorted, it's just insult to injury. And anyone who's been tracking this for any number of years at all understands that Chicago has got the worst record standard systems in place as almost any city anywhere in the country. And I would love to be a part of any school initiatives to create some demand from the children to the mayor or anyone to just cut the crap. What is going on that we just cannot get it together? It's ridiculous. And then lastly, I want to say, years ago, and I haven't been able to find them in the last couple of years I've been reaching out. Does anyone remember New Life for Old Bags? New Life for Old Bags. I see Sarah nodding her head. Anybody else? I just thought that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Anybody else? I'm asking you, Naomi, do they take plastic bags and weave them into mats for?
Yes.
Yes. I was
All
at an event.
All kinds of things.
Yes. I was with them at an event in January. Yes. They're awesome.
Well, I've been working on one.
Okay, well, I have been wanting to start like a knitting club. I mean, this is before COVID, but I've been wanting to start a little knitting club here at the Green Living Room to see what kind of things that we could make and sell. And so I just wonder if anybody else in this group would be interested in working with big or, you know, we're in the South Lakefront, and with the junior, we have an initiative called Sustainable South Side, and with a corresponding Sustainable West Side. And it's really about, and John Brophy knows about this, it's about us looking at ways to connect junior high school students to careers in sustainability, to technical degrees, or whether they're labs, or whether they're environmental advocates or whatever. But the point is that because of that, we have been creating this database of specifically of the junior high schools, or the elementary schools that have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or the high schools that have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And so we're looking at that particular age group. It's a 7-year, the initiative is the path to 100% employment on Chicago's South Side, Chicago's West Side, via the new green economy by 2025. And we launched in 2019, March of 2019. We've made some progress, not a huge amount, but it's a 7-year arc, and it's looking at how by the time, if you start with a 6th grader, in 7 years, they are so super sophisticated, so acculturated, so oriented, so grounded in the green economy industries, companies, nomenclature, the whole nine, that they are going to easily transition into sustainability careers. Well, in any case, it should be fun along the way. And I was hoping someone's of you would be interested in working with BIG with the New Life roll bags idea for, I don't know how you do anything like that during COVID, but maybe you create a little, a village, just a little supply chain where someone's doing the belts or someone's doing the skirts, or, I mean, they make clothing out of this stuff too. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it, but it's, Sarah, could you unmute yourself and say what you know about this, phenomenon? I just think it looks like so much fun.
I really don't know that much about it, but I know, I forget her name, the woman that was doing it. They do phenomenal work making the mats. But yeah, that people can make all sorts of things. It's amazing. But I do not have those skills, and I do not know anything about it. But I was just agreeing with you that I think there's a lot of potential there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Naomi.
Well, I just want to. I put my information in the chat, and Stephanie and others. If you share any modicum of interest, or if you know anyone who also might be interested, that's something I really would like to see get started in the schools, and as a way to absorb those bags out of the landfill, but also as a protest, also as an education about single use. And the city just really ought to be embarrassed of itself. And maybe our kids can help on that. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi. Naomi, this is Susan, and I just learned of, I think it's a call to action opportunity in the CPS Department of Social Science, where it appears that they're looking for outside organizations or agencies to work with students and propose a question that would be action oriented for students. So that might be a possibility there. I think there's, you can find out more information on the webpage there. It's the Department of Social Science on the CPS website.
Okay, CPS Department of Social Science web. Okay. I'll have a look.
I just kind of started learning about it, so I can't say too much. I think a person you might seek out is Alejandra Frausto.
Why don't you put it in the chat?
Will do.
Thank you. And I want to just tell you quick, Naomi, I'll connect offline on this, but for everyone to know, Chicago, oh God, look out your window, first of all, because the sunset is gorgeous right now. The Chicago Creative Reuse Exchange, it was their partnership on an event I did in January where she brought it, I brought her in, she brought in New Life for Old Bags. And so so we had them at an event. I know we can't have live events right now, but even virtually at a live event, we had a whole list of people who signed up for more information about, Brightbeat, just because we were together with the New Life for Old Bags, a bunch of female lawyers who were inspired to do it. And I'm bringing it up because Cindy just said she's doing this on her own right now. The concept they were sharing with us at this event was that you should do it at home. It is like one of those kind of like a knitting circle, but you're not always sitting together in the knitting circle, you're knitting at home too. So just to think, like, let's think how we're virtually connecting and maybe, knitting and Zooming and talking and learning about each other as we do it. And I have so much more to say about it, but I'll stop for now.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Right?
I love that idea.
I'm in. And it makes me think about another thing, which is, a lot of us who've been talking about food, bless you, Anthony, have identified that, the culture around food is a great inroad to a conversation about, growing your own food and composting versus, landfilling food. So, you quilt together plastic bags, you cook together, and you learn each other's, the Greek, meal of choice or whatever the way another person, with an ethnic recipe. And so how can we just use these ways to get people thinking at home about the environment and their own ways to take those sustainability practices home with them. So that's where my head is based on what you just said.
Love that.
So, so great. So I think that that's great that Naomi brought that up. Does anyone have any other either questions for Naomi or other thoughts? Cindy, you took yourself off mute to speak earlier too.
Yeah, I mean, just as a quick follow-up to it's plarn. If you Google plarn, plastic yarn, you can even see how it's made and all of that. We were doing it through our congregation. Some people can create the plarn and other people can knit. If you're not good at knitting, or actually it's crocheting that I'm doing. So that's just a aside. Yeah, I think as far as what happened at UIC during COVID, it's kind of a funny sensation. I was just thinking about it today that like we keep moving and keep working on these initiatives, but it also feels very surreal because we're not actually there in the buildings and the space that where we're trying to do the work. But we did have one program that continued on, which is our food recovery. Where we go into the hospital. We usually student volunteers. For a while it was just staff, and now our students are working, would go into the hospital and pick up and use our little electric vehicle, a Polaris Gem, and drive over to the Franciscan house with the excess food from the hospital kitchens. And that, was something that was considered an essential service and received the support to go forward. So, we're proud of that and glad we could continue. Otherwise, we've actually launched a task force for zero waste, where we've engaged with different leadership across the units that sort of have buildings under them, whether it's our student services, our residence halls, our different colleges. And we've got a lot of assistant deans and such, the people who run buildings, meeting to develop their plans, so that once, in the next 6 months, we'll develop that, and then when things start up again, we can get back to implementing that. So I think those are some of the positives. I also went through an RFP for on-site solar, and it was not. We didn't end up awarding it. We don't qualify on most of our buildings for the state incentive, so it doesn't become fiscally viable. there was one site that we were looking at, but now with the new administration, we're thinking we should go back to the drawing board because we were we would have been waitlisted anyway for the state incentives as a power purchase agreement. But it's hard because we've never done a renewable energy procurement. And I've been working on this for 12 years, so just between us all. You know, it doesn't, I've been brainstorming with myself how to get the administration to see beyond the bottom dollar. Of course, it's harder now. So that's still one of my goals, is to really advance renewable energy, and I'm trying to figure it out now, like, once again. So if anyone has brilliant ideas, open to it. I think we need a Green New Deal march on our on our campus towards the administration. I think they need to hear from the students.
Well, Cindy, I can say that the students worked. If you're telling me that your food recovery program was deemed an essential service, I mean, bringing that to the medical center was the demand of students on campus, you know, building that momentum at the medical center. You should be feeling so incredible about that.
Thank you. And Jen was key in getting us started on that, with, you know, introducing us to sort of, and the folks in the kitchen, how to get it done. And then Joe really stayed on it. And yeah, I think the other piece of that is that it's one of those, you know, hospitals have these community needs assessments that they do, and one of our community's needs is food, is healthy food. And so that I think they saw that connection, and that's what I feel like we need to get to with energy, that they're not seeing the connection between the social justice and the fact that we need to do something on the climate side, the climate justice.
Have you had a conversation with Gary about this in terms of community solar? And I know 7 Generations Ahead has a consultant that's been working on helping develop those arguments. So it could be, you know, there could be a way to tie it to benefits in your community where UIC to be the leader or the physical space for it.
Is that
yeah,
Mark Berger you're talking about?
Yes.
I've definitely thought about community solar, and I understand that there will be, under CEJA, there's more incentives to do it on rooftops as opposed to green fields. So I am trying to start to explore that, but that's a great idea to talk to Gary and just see if he has some insight on it, because, you know, we're going to have institutional barriers, and I think that's something that would have to be worked through community engagement folks on campus as well. But I think it could be.
What are the barriers, Cynthia? What are some of the barriers?
Well, first of all, I don't even know if we had solar panels on our rooftops and we have to sell some of that out to the community. I'm not sure if we're allowed to. So there may be some really legal issues around whether we can. I know we sell some energy commodities. We've sold our steam to Rush, and we've sold heat, some kind of heat, water jacket heat or something, to St. Ignatius, but we've never sold to private. You know, and it wouldn't really be us. We'd be leasing out our rooftops to that developer. But yeah, that's one of the.
No, community solar does not mean that you have to sell any of your energy to neighbors. That's not exactly. I mean, the nomenclature suggests that, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, just quick. That was why I asked Sandrine, because I thought her approach was so interesting. But we tried for years to see if the museums and the park could leverage community solar with our members, because we figured what an easy no-brainer. In the way, I mean, I brought in people, everyone from like Cub to 7 Generations Ahead to the Illinois Solar Association, and the way it was described to us was, there was more demand than there was money to make it work at the time. but the idea would simply be that you as a sort of resident in ComEd's territory, you just sort of check a box that you're interested in being a community solar subscriber, and the person with the array of the box that gets checked gets a little bit of an incentive out of that, and then you get some incentive for signing up as well. This was a few years ago, and it was, you know, kind of in fluctuation, so I don't know if it changed dramatically, but to Naomi's point, that's exactly what we were believe that it would work well as.
Yeah. Well, and then you could also, that's if you only want to be a subscriber. You mentioned leasing your rooftop. That's one way to be like a co-developer. It's technically not a developer, but if you're leasing your rooftop, that's a whole different scenario. And then if you want to own the system, you can own the system as an institution, and you're able to use, you're able to be your own client in that case. If you want to double back and talk, for example, to Mark Berger works very closely with us. I know he's with 7 Generations and, you know, only been in solar for the last 40 some odd years. So if there's a way that we could be helpful or facilitate that, would love to. And Jen, I don't know you, but you seem to know a lot also.
I work for 7 Generations Ahead, but not working with solar. So that was the offer to connect to Mark and Gary.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I know Mark. You know, those are good ideas. I think the idea was that we do have a lot of flat roofs, and we'd like to put solar on them. You can see one of them behind me, and that one actually has solar on it. But we have some much bigger ones, and finding the way to fund that if we're not part of the regular state program, the adjustable grant block program, and of course the partnerships. So yeah, these are great ideas. I should talk to the experts, and also there could be changes in CEJA that would make it, like I said, more attractive. And I know we could be an anchor to a different site. I think the idea was, could we have a site that is with, you know, close to the community it's actually serving.
And I'm just going to throw this out there, George. I know. Thank you. Good.
I was going to ask. I was curious. With all these developers now entering the community solar space, Carter, it sounds like with what you were doing, it might lend itself really well. I mean, what they're struggling to do, or what their big push now is to find subscribers. And if you have that segue into Field Museum patrons, does that, you know, if you're offering your building as a site and using that as a way to get them subscribers, has that been a conversation at all? And I don't know if it would, you know, have quite the traction with UIC of, you know, having a kind of ready subscriber base the same way, you know, Field Museum might. But is there any kind of lines of communication with some of the developers for community solar and you know, for future developments?
We did look at that, George, but we had already, like, we were a couple of years deep into a complete museum campus carbon neutral strategy where we would have solar carports covering all of those parking lots. And it's much more complicated than it appears because of like radiuses for like people turning boats around Burnham Harbor and all this crazy stuff. But our building, unfortunately, is like janky, doesn't even begin to describe it. It's like the roof is just a problem for so many reasons that if we, you know, there's a way to just do it kind of more at ground level and also get that educational benefit was where we were coming at it from, which seemed to make it a little more appealing. So it's something we're hoping maybe we could do in addition to that once, you know, hopefully CEJA passes and the money starts flowing again.
Yeah. I know they're making such a big push for subscribers that if you know, maybe even if the site isn't as large as they would like, if the trade-off is that the organization that's hosting is going to help get subscribers, maybe that changes their calculation a little bit in terms of, you know, if they're budgeting X amount to market and go get subscribers, if they can shrink that, and this is kind of off the cuff, so I have no idea if this would, but it's just a thought, and having talked to a couple of the developers of what their goals are right now, and just trying to get the word out.
And if I can jump in, since I know nothing about this stuff, but George is making me think that the suggestion is that you use the public engagement opportunity at a place like the field. It's almost like community solar conceptually. Like, it doesn't really matter where the panel is. Like, yes, the panel can be on display right here, but could you use the hook of public engagement to attract more subscribers as a way to facilitate maybe solar elsewhere, if not on the field itself, like on the parking lot at McCormick Place? You know what I mean? Like,
we had a similar issue actually with Cindy. We were ready to go after following an RFP, and we couldn't meet the match that was required, and then the state finances all kind of went upside down, and so we just determined we would shelve that one because the museum campus one is just such a mammoth project. I mean, it's kind of shovel ready, and we've already actually done 2 RFPs because the market has evolved so quickly that by the time the first one was done, developers came and said, we can do so much better for you. I never thought that I would have actually solar developers from California and London coming to the Field Museum to scope out sites. I mean, it was just such a startling development for Illinois because, we were kind of dead in the water for so long. But Mark Berger is kind of the one I would definitely take cues from. George, it's complicated also, George, with like the way they rolled out FIJA and some of those incentives. They had these sort of like tranches, I think they called them. And basically, if you didn't kind of get in right at the ground floor, the economics weren't nearly as favorable. And the problem was a place like the Field Museum, and I'm sure UIC is 10 times worse. For these big projects, we have to go through like the board of trustees has to approve it. It's like it's a really just lengthy hoop laden kind of process. So not that we're giving up, but it's just we're kind of waiting for a more favorable climate.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I want to move on in the few more minutes we have left. Very few, but this is every year this happens, that we get the last 5 minutes of our last meeting to talk about next year's topics. And is there a best time of year when you want to talk about solar? Because clearly that's going to be one of the meetings. As soon as possible, or just something to keep in mind. So what other topics do we want to discuss in our January, March, May, July, and not to say we can only be meeting every other month, but what topics do you guys want to see covered?
I have
or
something.
Cover yourself.
May
Yes.
I go?
Please.
Okay. One thing that we have been working on, I say we, I mean environmental educators of color, we have been needing to cultivate a environmentally refreshed, a culturally refreshed environmental curriculum within CPS. We don't believe there is an adequate cultural frame of reference, as well as general engagement, as well as racial parity in the investment that's happening in the schools along environmental or green economy education or sustainability education. And really super interested to work with you or anyone who is, anyone who is focused on equity in cultural sensitivity, inclusion, or diversity in the curriculum itself, the teachers, and the activities, the school equipment, and supplies and stuff.
Yes, I hear you, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding the need you're referencing. And is it specifically the culturally, I'm not going to say appropriate, but refreshed, as you said, curriculum in the schools, and then also the infrastructure in those schools and schools only?
Yeah, well, it's kind of all of that because, you know, we tend to have a pre-existing disparity in school investment to begin with, which we all know about, and we know where it comes from, and you know, sort of how hard it is to move the status quo in that realm.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So you know, the idea of there being, I mean, it's really all of that. I mean, Black vendors who do environmental work with CPS, that's just a really, that's a tough nut to crack. You know, I've had problems over the years. It's just recently bubbling back up to priority status for me. I mean, I can't even, I spent 7 years trying to get into the, Carter knows this, 7 years trying to get into the elementary school right next door to me with programs that we're doing every day in the neighborhood with children around the environment. So I just feel like I'm not a CPS person per se, although I did run for local school council.
I would have voted for you.
I just want, I want to know who's having those conversations. I want to be a part of the solution, a breakthrough in that realm.
Awesome. Okay, so what I'm hearing, I think, is gonna you know, manifest in a few different ways. I think there's conversations with Sandrine, who I know you had to join late and didn't get to, you know, hear everything she had to say, but there's that. And I think I'd like to, you know, we can figure out exactly what this, how we craft the sort of the name of this meeting, but this meeting is an important one to happen. And I think the timing of what we're talking about could be advised upon by Sandrine, and, you know, where things are at in schools and the way things go. As schools are starting to come back, as plans are being made, how can this be an important item discussed? But then I just feel like there's something about culturally refreshed curriculum. I don't know. You've made me now think that there's more to this, and it goes beyond schools. So that, I know I said a lot of nothing just now, but I've got sustainability in schools and big, you know, as one of our topics. What other topics besides solar and big sustainability in schools, which is again just what I'm naming it right now on the notes here. What else are you all wanting to see discussed? I'll mention, I'm sorry, also I want you guys to know that in the chat, I put something from the Illinois Green Alliance. They shared a webinar series link and a Green Your Schools project. The deadline is December 14th. So Naomi, please look at that, because that's something that's available right now. And I put it in the chat. It'll be in the notes too.
Super, thank you.
Oh, and sure, and Laurel's on the line from IGA, so please.
Yeah, I also wanted to put in there, so Liz Wimmer is a colleague at Illinois Green, and she's been working really hard on all the green school stuff this fall. So not only are we still looking for schools to participate, but the mentor application is also still open for another couple days. I think the deadline's been extended to November 30th, I think. But if you are interested in being a mentor to a school, who signs up? We're also looking for folks to apply to that too. So that's also on our website, and I will find that link and drop that in the chat as well. So definitely check out the webinars. Those were great. If you know a school who wants to participate, awesome. And then if you or anyone you know wants to be a mentor, also awesome.
Thank you, Laurel. So Anthony, not the one who's here, but the one who's not, has provided through Lydia the idea of clean energy plans and actions as an idea, as a topic, and how has COVID impacted your sustainability goals being a topic on with, you know, what permanent work from home policies are in place, building mergers, you know, kind of like the operational component of COVID impact, the future facing. I think that sounds phenomenal. So those are both good ideas. And clean energy plans and actions aligns with CEJA, which CEJA is just a whole, where do you begin? What is that? How do you limit what CEJA is? Anyway, food focused. Food waste is the two things that Margot and Jen are both mentioning. So I've got food, and as we know, food is also one of those things. The question is, how do we narrow the scope to 2 hours? So let's see, I don't know if I've missed some things on the chats, but any other thoughts? Solar, big, sustainability in schools, CEJA, clean energy, COVID, and food. Dark.
Yeah, I was going to say, hi, it's Lydia. I use the pronoun she, her. We also wanted to include about Dark Skies Initiative. We recently filled out an application to have one of our forest reserves be a Dark Sky certified, but also bird-friendly buildings, making sure retrofitting and having policies in place to have bird-friendly glass, and then green building standards was the other topic Anthony wanted to bring up.
Thank you for being here, Lydia, and sharing that, and hosting Greentown. Okay, great. We got another vote for bird-friendly buildings. Any other? I know we're like at time right now. Anyone else want to share any other? Yes.
Steph, when you're mentioning CEJA, would advocacy or how to support the potential of that legislation getting passed be maybe a topic? Probably earlier in the year. I don't know the latest developments, but I'm assuming they're aiming for a spring session at this point, I would guess. I don't know if anyone has any updates they could share.
I do. That's an incredibly good idea. And I don't know why I didn't think of it. I just kind of brain dead, I think, from CEJA. Some of you know Blacks and Green and thousands of our closest friends have been working on that legislation for a few years now. And we were prepared to really ramp up and push. We just had a lobby day November 12th, but and then the veto session was canceled. So we are looking for a January lame duck session, which is like 2 days, where we ramp up the legislator contact. So I think it would be phenomenal if we could get a body of students across a spectrum of schools to, to weigh in. Of course, legislators care about voters, but these kids have parents, and it's just too embarrassing not to positively address what your young people are calling for. If there's any way that I could support anyone interested in that, I would love, love, love to do that, including presentations at your schools or whatever, helping to put advance a kid-friendly version. I'd be all in.
I love that. And Naomi, you and 7 Generations Ahead, I think both do great work with engaging students. So I'm already seeing youth advocacy. Anthony, what a great idea. I know Brophy probably has something to add as it relates to that. So let's see, that really community engagement, I feel like it sort of seems like it's in a lot of what we're talking about. That was something previously mentioned. Storytelling and messaging was something that's been previously mentioned. I don't know if that's not really in here directly, but Brophy, you tell us what you think.
I was just going to say my renewable energy class joined the lobby day efforts, and we talked to Senator Martwick, Representative LaPointe, and it went well. Also, this is kind of breaking news, but we're going to have a different Speaker of the House come spring session, so that'll be interesting.
Woo! Oh, sorry.
Holy.
Whether it's Ann Williams or somebody completely different, I don't know, but like I feel like it can only help in terms of getting across the finish line at this point.
No question about it.
and we might need some guidance from the governor in terms of like what they want to do. But so I think if anything, we're thickening in terms of our influence at this point for how and why that crosses the finish line when it does. So yeah, students make a big impact on lawmakers. And let's make sure any classes we support articulate for general education credit so that the high school students can take it as well as the community college students.
Articulate for general education. I wrote that down, but you'll have to help me. I know everyone's got to jump off. It's 5:05. I'm good. I need to too. But thank you. The one I want to say that I know I heard some yeses for storytelling, and I also know that once things reopen, we're going to need some help. So I think we've got a lot to build off of. You guys, you always inspire me. I can't thank you enough, everyone, for being here, each and every one of you, if you spoke up or not. It really matters a lot. And so we'll get a chance to maybe do more introductions. Thanks, George, for making it for the first time today. And he's with Chicago Association of Realtors, and he's the chairman of their sustainability group. So, you know, maybe that's going to be something we'll save time on our meeting in January for you to introduce yourself and tell us more about what's going on there. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
However, I would like to call you. So if I can put my number in, but I definitely.
I just gave it.
Oh, okay, great. Super.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Naomi. Bye, guys. Keep up the great work, okay? Be safe.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Bye-bye.